Okay, we've had a chance to work a little bit with cells and cell data and some of the contents of a spreadsheet. Now let's look at editing and manipulating some of the look and layout of our spreadsheet. So let's start off. Let me give you a couple tips on selecting things to start with. First of all, as I mentioned last time, we can click in the upper left-hand corner to select the entire worksheet. Or if I want to select a row or column at a time, if I move my cursor up into the column header, notice it changes to an arrow and I can select the column. If I drag and select, I can select multiple. Same thing with rows. It changes to the arrow and I can select a row. Now let's say I want to size something. I can size an individual column or I can size a group of columns by selecting multiple ones. If I double click on the separator line, it will automatically size each column to accommodate all the contents within that column. So I'll double click this now and I'll notice that D and E, it recognized that there was not so much of a need for the width on it, so it shrunk those down, and C more or less left alone. So I can automatically adjust very quickly this way, and I can do the entire workbook if I wanted this way. And similarly, I could do the same with rows, or if I select multiple rows, they don't even have to be next to each other. I'll select one. Let's say hypothetically I wanted to add space between the tables. I'll select a row. I'll select the other space row with holding down the control key and clicking. And still holding the control key, I will select the third one. And now I can adjust the height by dragging the separator to increase the height. So you can see I can automatically adjust or I can manually adjust by dragging. Now, let's try inserting some additional rows into our spreadsheet. If I wanted to insert a row, I could select the row where I want the row to be inserted with. If I go ahead and right-click and choose Insert, it'll add a row underneath this one. Now I could do that if I wanted to enter multiple rows or single rows, but say I wanted to add a lot of rows at a time. If I wanted to add 10 rows at the same time, I could do that a lot more efficiently by selecting 10 or the number I want to enter. So let's simplify this. I'll select 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, and by hitting Insert now, it's going to enter 4 rows as opposed to 1 at a time. So you can see if you're entering a large amount of rows, it's a lot more efficient. So let's go ahead and undo that change and undo the previous change. Now let's say hypothetically that we're finding that our expense report is getting returned to us with invalid dates. People aren't entering a date, they're entering some other garbage information or simply forgetting to fill this out. We can add some data validation to this date here. We'll go ahead to the Data tab or to open the Data ribbon. Select the data validation option, and we can say that I want this one to be a date. I want it to be somewhere within this year, 1/1/2013 through 12/31/2013. I want to indicate to the people that this is a field that needs to be entered. So we'll say enter 2013 date. We'll say enter a date in the current year. And if they enter something erroneous, we want to provide them feedback. Date error. Enter a valid date in 2013. Now, I'm going to apply this by hitting OK. And the first thing you're going to notice is now, when I am on a field that has data validation applied, it's going to give me the message for the input requirements that I had just specified. So I entered enter 2013 date as my dialog message or title, and then the text that I wanted to enter. Other fields here or other cells won't have that. Only ones with data validation will show this. So one last thing I'd like to touch upon is, well, we'll say that hypothetically we got some feedback that people aren't liking the grayscale. So let's change the look of our template just a little bit. We'll go to Page Layout. We'll notice that if we select themes, there's a bunch of predefined themes that are going to change the color themes and general look of our template very quickly. And as I mouse over them, you can see them changing in the background. So we could go with a purple theme or plum or whatever color that is, or something a lot more hideous. We could probably come up with something very terrible to look at, but I've chosen organic. So we can quickly and easily apply color themes to our spreadsheet. So we've covered adjusting row heights and selecting. We've covered inserting of additional rows, validating data, and some simple theme changes. So why don't you go ahead and explore some of that?